All right, guys. Today we're going to be learning about conjunctions. This is our unit for the week. So, of course, we're going to have to go through our objectives to begin with. I'm going to expect you guys to not only understand these objectives, but be able to do the things that it says in the objectives. So, I'm going to ask that you follow along with me. First of all, we'll talk about what you should understand. There are three essential terms that we are dealing with in this week's unit. The first is coordinating conjunctions. This should be a review for you because we talked about these before. Coordinating conjunctions connect words, phrases, or clauses, making them equal. So those conjunctions that we're looking for are the for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so, which you should recognize as the fanboys, okay? Those connect words, phrases, or clauses, and they are equal in a sentence. Those are coordinating conjunctions. Subordinating conjunctions are those that connect two clauses. So those are two clauses, meaning they have a subject and a verb of their own, and it emphasizes one and de-emphasizes the other. So it subordinates the clause that the subordinating conjunction is connected to. The last big term is conjunctive adverbs. Oh, by the way, our acronym for subordinating conjunctions is SWABI. The conjunctive adverbs, this is a newer term for you. Those are terms that relate to independent clauses. So where the subordinating conjunctions, we're putting an independent and a subordinate together, this is going to relate to independent clauses together. So it'll show cause and effect, sequence, comparison, or contrast. Those are the functions of conjunctive adverbs. Now, the rest of these objectives talk more specifics about these three primary terms. But if we're talking vocabulary, coordinating, subordinating, and conjunctive adverbs are really the big three of this unit. So letter D talks about how conjunctive adverbs can be used as transitions. So you might see them at the beginning of a sentence, followed by a comma. You might see them as an interruption in the middle of an independent clause with commas before and after them. You can also use a conjunctive adverb between two independent clauses by putting a semicolon after the first independent clause and a comma after the conjunctive adverb. In a couple of slides, I'll show you how that works with all three of these instances. So you'll be able to see how D and E kind of work in sentences. The last objective is about the coordinating and subordinating conjunctions. They are not to be used as transitions with commas afterward. So only the conjunctive adverbs are really the transition words. These are connector words. Okay, so if you can keep those sort of separate in your mind, that will be helpful. So here's what you're going to have to be able to do by the end of our practice. First of all, you'll have to be able to identify different types of conjunctions. Are they fanboys? Are they swabbies? Are they thamos? That's, by the way, our acronym for conjunctive adverbs. We'll get there in a minute. You'll have to use the most logical and effective conjunction or conjunctive adverb to accomplish a desired effect in a sentence. You'll have to use commas correctly with conjunctions and with conjunctive adverbs. And then you'll be identifying, correcting, and avoiding common errors with conjunctions and conjunctive adverbs. A lot of that practice will be done in IXL. Some of it will be done in Google Classroom. So let's look at these more closely. Coordinating conjunctions, as you know, the most basic type of conjunction, it connects either sentences, words, or phrases, okay? And again, equal grammatical weight. So our acronym for that is fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So here is an example. I need butter and cheese to make the potatoes. This is an example of connecting just words. So we're connecting the noun butter with the noun cheese, okay? In the second example, we can hop over the fence or ring the bell at the front gate. Here we are connecting phrases, and these are verb phrases. So hop over the fence is our first phrase, or is our fanboy, ring the bell at the front gate is the second phrase. Those combine to make the predicate in the sentence. In our last example, we have sentences connected with the fanboys. So if you remember in our comma rules, we have to put a comma at the end of the first independent clause, then our fanboys conjunction, then the second clause here. Okay, so don't forget the comma rules for coordinating conjunctions. With subordinating conjunctions, our acronym is SWABIES. And again, a subordinated conjunction is joining two clauses, making one grammatically dependent on the other, making it a fragment in essence, because it cannot exist without an independent clause to complete its meaning. So these are the most common: since, when, after, because, and if. Those are our SWABIES. These are some more down here if you're interested in having a list of different subordinating conjunctions that you might look for in sentences. In our examples here, we have the first sentence: since I'm not a math teacher, I won't try to help you with your calculus. The subordinating conjunction is since. It subordinates this entire clause, and then we have a comma and our independent clause afterward. In the second example, we will go to Target after Jack finishes football practice. The subordinate clause is after Jack finishes football practice. Now, after sometimes is a preposition, but because after is not followed by just a noun, it's followed by an entire clause. After in this instance becomes a subordinating conjunction. Finally, we have our conjunctive adverbs. So our acronym for conjunctive adverbs is THEMO, okay? And we call them THEMOs, but the S doesn't actually stand for anything, just like in SWABI. So our most commonly used conjunctive adverbs are therefore, however, also, meanwhile, and otherwise. But I have some more on the bottom of the screen here for you if you want a more complete list of conjunctive adverbs. Again, these are transition words. So they are going to link independent clauses and show the relationship between those clauses. So they might show comparison, they might show contrast, they might show sequence, they might also show cause and effect. But these are going to be used primarily as transitions. So here are some tips about how conjunctive adverbs might be used to do that. So the most common sort of punctuation patterns with conjunctive adverbs are putting that main clause first, a semicolon, then the conjunctive adverb, a comma, and the second main clause, or the main clause followed by a period, then a conjunctive adverb, comma, and a main clause. Notice how that conjunctive adverb, though, is always separated from the main clause by a comma here. There are exceptions to these trans comma, however. So in this case, we put that transition word at the end of the sentence, but it is still set off by the comma. Make sure that you note that. You may therefore have to take conjunctive adverbs on a case-by-case basis. So in this case, there is no comma setting that off because it's right in the middle of the clause. You may have to take a conjunctive adverb. In this case, though, it is nevertheless important to commit these formulas to memory. We have it set off by commas again. I think it's generally a good rule of thumb to set conjunctive adverbs off with commas, okay? So if you can think of it that way, that's probably a better way for you to operate than to not realize that they need to be set off by commas. So now go back to Google Classroom and figure out your practice. Thanks.